how do you utilize what you already have? How do you utilize what you already have around the house without going and spending a bunch of money or building something or buying something? Work with what you already have within the constraints of your home and your household. Hey, sweet mama. Welcome back to another episode of Mama Mindset. I'm your host and creator, Amy Cawthron. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to have you as part of this community. Again, if this is your first time listening, however, I do encourage you to go back and listen to episode 93 prior to this episode. It's the 4 elements to live a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. And what we're going to do today is unpack and break down one of those 4 elements. So if you would like to just hit the pause button, go back and listen to episode 93. I feel like it will give you some context for the element that we're discussing today, which is home. It may help you better understand why we're talking about this as an element, what I call a foundational element, if you are going to find this a little bit confusing. So hit the pause button, go back and listen to that, or plug on forward because there's going to be so much helpful information for you in this episode if you don't feel like going back and listening to the other one. So as a quick reminder, the episode 93, the 4 elements that we talked about to living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom are home, health, wealth, and love. So like I told you, as promised, in the month of January, we're going to unpack each of those 4 elements. The first one starting with home, which I'm super excited about. I know we've touched on this a little bit in past episodes, just on decluttering and the importance of, working with the environment that you're in. I put up a post a while back also that it just as a reminder, if you're not following me on Instagram or Facebook, I do put a lot of content out there to guide you or to give you other resources or just other, gentle reminders of things that we can be working towards. So I did put up a post a while back that said, your home is your office is your home. And I fully believe in that. Just in case you're not aware, I do have a business degree, and a lot of the things that I approach to being a stay-at-home mom are focused around business. If you were going to treat being a stay-at-home mom as a career, this is some of the ways that you would do it, because I fully believe your role as a stay-at-home mom is a career. It's not a paid career via paycheck, but we do bring in a certain income. We are valuable just without the actual monetary paycheck coming in, but there is value in what we do with our laundry, with our cooking, with our cleaning. I mean, that all adds up to an actual dollar amount. So I like to approach this the same as you would approach it a career. With my business degree, it's just how my mind works. Okay. So you're just going to have to bear with me, but I feel like there is so much value in this role as a stay-at-home mom when you approach it that way. Again, it's us squashing that hot mess mom culture. We're picking ourselves up and we're treating this as a job, as a career, and as well as a role, because your careers are your roles as well. They are all intertwined. They're all intersecting. And why should we, as stay-at-home moms, as full-time mothers, be treated or looking at these roles any differently? So, soapbox tangent. I'm really excited to dive into unpacking this first element of home. And I want to do this in a very easy way and a very approachable way for you to remember. And I call it the 3 S's of home management. Okay. So hopefully that's a little easier for you to wrap your head around, to grasp, and always go back to, because I'm not perfect. Okay. I never claim to be. I'm not an expert in cleaning, in decluttering, or minimalism, or anything like that. But I know what works in my house, what works for me based on where we live, my environment, the amount of kids I have, my husband, all of these things that create our life. I'm an expert in my life, and I'm an expert in knowing what we need within our home to provide support for my family. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years. I've been working on this constantly, continuously, every single day. I did not become a stay-at-home mom to be a house cleaner or a housekeeper, but I am a homemaker. And so are you. And so is my husband. And so is your husband. And so is everybody else, including our children. We are all homemakers. So our home, our environment needs to work with us and for us, not against us. So if you can treat your home as your office and understand that your office is your home, you will really approach this in a way that you want it to work for you. You want it to work with you, and you need it to flow and function appropriately and accordingly. When you walk into a business or a building, their offices for the employees are not jam-packed full of crap, papers falling everywhere, filing cabinets left open. First of all, it's a hazard. Second of all, it's confidentiality issues. Thirdly, it's just not good business. And having come in human resources, having come at this from a background in human resources, I'm the first one to tell you that that's not allowed. So why do we allow our offices, which are our homes, to rule us, to take over? And I know that a lot of you are saying, well, I'm just so busy with the kids and I don't have time to do the dishes and take care of things. And we're going to get into that. Okay. We're going to get into how to unpack this in 3 steps, which I call, again, the 3 S's. We're going to get into that. But I also want to remind you that this doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. It doesn't have to be minimalism. We live in a society of polar opposite ideologies. You have consumerism, right? In one hand, which is like more stuff, getting more stuff, buying more stuff, having more stuff. And then you have this other ideology in society right now, at least in the United States culture. I'm just going to speak on that because that's all I know, that is minimalism. And there's a lot of people really embracing this idea of minimalism. And then there's a lot of people that are kind of in between. And that's the in between. That's what I want to talk about today, because I'm not an expert in minimalism, but I also don't agree with overconsumption. And we really try and lead our lives to living as minimally as we possibly can, with still enjoying some of, these modern day luxuries and things like that. And I just know, I've mentioned this before, that minimalism does not serve my family or our values. We don't have minimalist pantries. We live in a very rural area, so we do tend to hold on to things that we feel are important or necessary. We also have a little more space on our property, and we do have a shop. So again, what works for me is going to be different than what works for you. And I'm not trying to tell you to live your life the way I live mine, but what I'm going to give you is some tools to evaluate where you are in your life, whether that's your physical location, all of the variables that go into your home and your environment. And this can be applied to if you're a homeowner, if you're renting, if you're living in an apartment, if you're living in a camper. Trust me, I say camper, I have to put that in there because I've done that. I've lived in a motorhome before we purchased the house that we're living in now. And it was interesting. So we'll just say that and leave it at that. And even if that's you living at your parents' or living with a family member, I've also done that with 2 kids. Okay. We had Gracie and a newborn, and I've lived at my parents' house. And there is a way to apply these 3 S's to each scenario, each unique scenario that you are in. So I don't want you to think like, oh my gosh, I'm living at my parents' house, we're in this transition mode and I can't apply any of this. That's not true. You can apply all of these. And I did apply all of these to all of those situations, all of those circumstances, with the exception of renting. We haven't rented since we've been parents, but Okay, so I'm going to dive into this. So grab a pen and paper. If you need to pause this to go grab a pen and paper, I want you to write this down. And this is going to take a little bit of homework. This is going to take a little bit of intentionality. And the reason why we're doing this is because I want you to have the tools to always revert back to when you find yourself in a state that is overwhelming, or you're frustrated, or you're not feeling fulfilled. Okay. We can always go back to these 4 foundational elements of home, health, wealth, and love, and do some evaluations in each of those elements and figure out, okay, this element is not serving me and I need to do a little bit of work. So if you're at a point in your life, you're saying, I'm not feeling fulfilled, and home is one of them. Maybe it's your systems, maybe it's the amount of stuff, maybe it's the environment, all of those things. Then we're going to use these 3 S's to unpack just this element, only home. And then in the next several episodes, we're going to unpack the last 3 elements. So the first one is physical space. Okay. Physical space. So I want you to ask yourself a question. Is your physical space serving you? And that's not just, you can look at that as a whole. Okay. That can be your whole house. Is your home environment serving you? And then from there, you can dive a little bit deeper. Is your kitchen serving you? Is your bedroom serving you? Is your living room serving you? Is your entryway serving you? Is your pantry serving you? Is how you're using these physical spaces serving you in the season? Okay. Please remember this, in the season of life that you're in. The physical spaces and how we use them are and should always be changing, always evolving. I shouldn't say should, because you don't always have to change your physical spaces and you don't always have to rearrange them or anything, but you should be looking at it and saying, is this serving me? I want you to always keep something in mind. Okay. I'm a huge proponent of this. My girlfriend and I have a really close friend, and her and I are such proponents of the fact that just because your home or your apartment or even your camper was built a certain way, and this was the intent behind this physical space, you are under no obligation at all to use that space in the way that it was intended. So, for example, I'm going to use our master bedroom today, for example. Okay. Just to give you a brief description, we have a 2-story house. When you walk in, you're on the main floor. And then we have, I guess it would be considered a daylight basement. So 3 of the bedrooms are downstairs and 1 bedroom is on that main floor. And the main bedroom is technically the master bedroom. Now, off that master bedroom is an indoor hot tub room, and it's connected to the master bedroom. I knew right away in our house, we weren't going to keep this before we even moved in. We weren't going to keep this hot tub. And then I was just trying to decide, well, how are we going to use this room that was specifically built and designed to hold a hot tub? And we ended up using it as a playroom, as an indoor playroom. It's a pretty small space, not much bigger than a hot tub. You could walk around a hot tub. So you could imagine it's a pretty small space, but it's perfect. It has tons of windows and we don't have a lot of toys anyways. And that was the space that I wanted for the kids' playroom. Now, after that, unpacking that, I didn't want to use the bedroom attached to it on the main floor as the master bedroom because my girls were downstairs and I didn't want to be that far away from them. So we used the master bedroom, which is the biggest room in the house, as the guest room. And we still use it that way. So fast forward a couple of years, we are now homeschooling, and I was taking a look at our environment, at our physical space, and saying, it is not serving my family to continue to conduct homeschool in our dining room. We have this extra space upstairs. I'm tired of making a guest bed that the kids climb on all the time, and we're not even utilizing and using that guest room space. It is so not serving us. It is creating more work. We rarely have people come and spend the night, and the kids would like take all of their toys from the playroom and just extend it into the carpeted space in the guest room, what we call the guest room. And I shifted that before school started this year. We pulled everything that I was using for homeschool out of the dining room. I minimized the amount of toys that we had yet again. It's like a constant thing that I'm doing. And then we got rid of the guest bed. We pulled the guest bed out. I bought a used $100 futon on Facebook, and we put a futon in there so it's more of a couch. And now the guest room becomes our playroom. The playroom became our classroom. So, and this is something that I know inevitably going to shift yet again at some point. But these are the things that I'm constantly looking at. How can I utilize all of the space in my home to serve me? And it didn't make any sense for me to be using the guest bedroom as an actual guest bedroom, or it's the master bedroom as a guest bedroom, as a full guest bedroom. Guests didn't need that much space. We never had anybody staying with us for extended periods of time. So I think it's super important to just look at your physical space and see if it's serving you. Break down your kitchen. Are your cupboards and your drawers and everything, is the physical space that you're working in your kitchen serving you? Or are you having to reach too far to grab certain utensils when it doesn't actually flow and function properly? You can always shift. You can always pivot. You never have to use specific spaces for what they were originally intended for. We have a pantry space in the house, and we use that. That was not what it was intended for. Let me clarify. That was not what that was intended for, but I use it as our pantry because we took out a wall and it's the only closet that we have. It's a closet essentially, and I use it as a pantry. So those are just a couple of examples of what I use and what we do in our life. So step one, if your home is not serving you, and if your home is not assisting you in living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom, step one, the first S is your physical space. Okay. Number two, the second S is stuff. So now you've determined, okay, my physical space is fine. This is serving me. Why does this not make me feel good when I go in here? And that's the first question that you need to ask yourself. So the first question for physical space is this serving me? You walk around, is this serving me as I need it? Or am I using it as it's intended? Or should I be using it in a different way? So is this space serving me? Now, the second thing you do as you're walking around is, if you've answered yes, this is serving me, the physical space is serving me, you need to ask yourself, how does this space make me feel? If you're using it for how it's intended, but you still feel overwhelmed, it's frustrating, it's a mess, whatever, then you go to the second S, which is stuff. Okay. You need to ask yourself within that space, do I have too much stuff? And how do I clean up this stuff? So then that's when the decluttering comes into play. Okay. And I'll just use my pantry. I'm going to use my pantry. It's a constant battle for me, absolute constant battle for me, because we're very limited on space in our kitchen. And the space is got into by the kids and Brad and myself. And it's usually when we're in a hurry and we're pulling out food and we're trying to cook or we're getting snacks or whatever. So, and I know that I'm not unique in this, but the pantry is a constant space of needing to reflect on and see how we can improve it, or decluttering and getting rid of things. Food gets old, we throw it out, things get messed up, we clean it up and put it back in the bins that it needs to go in. But stuff, my pantry collects stuff. It's inevitable. So, and I don't want you to feel like there's any constraints around stuff, because minimalism really add some constraints to the use of products and the use of things and the use of your spaces. So, I'll just say extreme minimalism is counting the number of clothes that you have and only having X number of socks and underwear, shirts, pants, and, certain number of towels or, whatever. And that's not even extreme minimalism, but you have to decide what works for you, what works for your family. And I am not going to put any constraints on that. It may be helpful for you to say, you know what? We have 5 people in our family, for example. I'll just use my own family. We have 5 people in my family. How many towels do I actually need to have in my cabinets? Do I need to have 15 towels for 5 people? Probably not. If I had 5 towels plus a couple of extra in case we had guests, then I wouldn't have to take up as much cabinet space. Okay. That's a constraint that I would have on myself for my family within my own environment. But those constraints are going to look different for all of you. So I'm not going to put any constraints on anything. You may want to. I'm going to leave that entirely up to you. Again, I'm not an expert on minimalism. I'm just trying to walk you through the 3 S's to get your home to a place where you love being there and where your home works for you and you can work within your home. So walk around your house, see how you feel. Again, the pantry is, a space. So I'm going to go back to my first S. Is this physical space being used is it serving me? Not used as intended, excuse me. Is this physical space serving me? And the answer for me is yes. This is where I want to keep my flour, my sugar, my baking products. This is the best place for me to keep my Tupperware. And this is the best place for me to keep some snacks that the girls can reach on the bottom shelf. So I've asked myself this, you guys. My kitchen is small for the house that we live in. It's small. And I have asked myself with this pantry probably once a month. I probably do this once a month. Is this serving me? Is this really the best place for all these things? And the answer is yes. So if you know this is the best place for your towels, this is the best place for your pantry. Yes, this is where we're going to keep the master bedroom. Then great. Okay. So what is it about this space? Even though I'm using it and it's serving me in the location that it's in, what is it about this space that is making me anxious or not fulfilling me? And if it's stuff, then declutter it. Go through it. Take 10 minutes and get rid of things that are expired or get rid of some clothes. Eliminating stuff is probably the next obstacle that you need to overcome. This is a process. Okay. I know that I'm oversimplifying this, but these things do take time. All right. I'm not expecting you to decide that you need to move your master bedroom and declutter everything in there in a 24-hour period. I know that this might be a project, but I really, truly believe that unpacking this element using these 3 S's is what's going to keep you on track and make you feel like you're still in control. Okay. So after you've determined, you know what? No. Okay. I've decluttered it. It's fine. There's really not that much stuff in here, but it continues to get messy or whatever. Or I've done my decluttering. I've evaluated my spaces, physical space 1, it's fine. I'm good with everything. The second S, number 2, stuff. I don't think that I have that much stuff. So what is it now that is the problem and that I'm feeling overwhelmed and frustrated every single day? And it's systems. The third S is systems. And this is something that I'm constantly changing, constantly trying to improve on, constantly trying to develop and grow. Again, I'm just going to reinforce, I am not an expert at systems. It's just something that I'm passionate about, trying to find effectiveness and efficiencies within the systems that we're doing. Brad and I talk about, like, is this working? Is our laundry system working? I think I have changed my laundry system, by the way, and I still don't have it perfect. Total transparency. I still don't have my laundry system perfect in this house, but it's something that I have really worked on and tried to change like 5 or 6 times since we've had kids. Okay. And I know that this is a system that I can still work on. So don't think that just because you're working on it or changing, that it's just going to be this miraculous discovery and it's going to be perfect right off the bat. Okay. Laundry system is still something that I am working on. And for me, honestly, a lot of it is my mindset, but there are systems that I have in place that we have changed and I'm incredibly successful at and work really, really well for us and have worked really well for us for several years, not just like for 6 months. I'm talking like years since Brad and I've had the kids. Okay. So I'll just use one example of a system for us that works really good. And it's our bedtime routine. Hey, sweet mama, I just wanted to remind you about an incredible opportunity to take these conversations one step further, to find like-minded women who want to dive deeper and pursue the things that they're interested in order to best raise our future generation. And that is with my Mama Mindset Tribe Facebook group. You can find the link in the show notes below. If you haven't already joined the group, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a free resource where you can ask questions, seek guidance, look for help, celebrate the wins of the mindset shifts that you've had, the 1% changes that you had in up-leveling your life, big things, little things, all of it. I want to celebrate all of it. I want to share all of it. We're going to ask some big questions and some participation opportunities. So if you haven't already done so, please head on over. The link is in the show notes below and join the Mama Mindset Tribe on Facebook. I look forward to having you join our tribe. You know, I can evaluate and look at my space and say, my kitchen is a stressor for me. Okay. So why is it a stressor for me? Well, I don't like waking up in the morning and having dirty dishes. So I'm using my physical space as it can serve my family. I'm obviously not going to move my kitchen, but I've decluttered the amount of stuff that's in my kitchen so many times. I really don't have that many things. So what is it now? Well, it's the system. It was the system that we were having because we were both trying to do everything all at once. And what we realized was it's better if we divide and conquer. Again, this is just what works. This is one example of what works for Brad and I. I know some listeners, they have different schedules, and I know that their husbands have different work schedules, and things just work differently in each household. I just want to use this as an example to give some context in how to apply this. Okay. So our system, our bedtime system routine wasn't working. We were both trying to do too much all at once. So and, you know, if you allow the kids to stay up too late too, then you're not going to get the things done on time and you're just going to want to crash as soon as you get them in bed. So we have a strict bedtime routine with the kids, and then we divide and conquer. One of us helps get the kids ready for bed, you know, brush their teeth, wash their face, get their pajamas on, wrangle them around the house, remind them again, put your jammies on, brush your teeth. Let's do this. Chase the toddler around, change her diaper, change it again because she pooped, get her jammies on, change her jammies again because she spilled toothpaste all over them. You know, so whoever is in charge of dishes, I think whoever is in charge of cleanup really has it easy. One of us will put our headphones in or listen to a podcast, maybe in one ear. One person does the kitchen cleanup, and then the other person helps get the kids ready for bed. Another part of that routine, I want to back up a little bit, is that we have the expectation for our kids, and it doesn't happen perfectly. Okay. It doesn't happen perfectly every night. And it does take some conversation and some encouragement, but they help us clear the table. They help us clear the table. And a lot of times they help us set the table. Okay. We try our best to work as a team. And that's the expectation that we have in our house. So everybody clears the table together. Somebody works on the dishes and does the cleanup. Usually it's Brad. He's actually much faster at doing the dishes, believe it or not, than I am. And then in that time frame, a lot of the times I'm getting them ready for bed, vice versa. If I'm done with the kids for the day, then I'll clean up the kitchen and I'll do the dishes, and he'll get the girls ready for bed. A lot of times we'll read stories together. Sometimes we'll do them separately. He'll take the older two. I'll take Lily, vice versa. And then at the end of that, you know, they're usually in bed by 8:00 by this point, and the kitchen's cleaned up or mostly cleaned up, and everything worked really well. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But I'll usually go upstairs, you know, and do the final touches of getting it to the place that I want it to be so that when I wake up in the morning, it really truly serves me. But Brad does a great job of, if he's the one in charge of the dishes, of getting everything washed, getting everything wiped down. And then I kind of go in and do my full reset, get everything fully prepared for the next day. So that's just one example of a system that we had to change in order to make sure that I woke up the next day with no dishes in the sink, because I knew that waking up with dishes in the sink is a huge point of stress for me, and it doesn't set my day off right, and it doesn't serve me right. So we just have to get them done no matter what in the evenings. And then we wake up, even if the kitchen isn't perfectly decluttered, the dishes are done. I can fill up my gallon of water. I can make the girls breakfast. I can get them anything they need. I can start anything that I need to start without having to first clean up. It was creating a bunch of resentment for me because I felt like all I did the night before was clean or cook and prepare all this food. And then I have to wake up the next morning and I have to clean up after this food that I cooked the day before. And it wasn't serving us. So we go to bed with no dishes in the sink. And that might seem like a very basic example. We've done that for a lot of years. We realized pretty early on that wasn't going to work for us. But for us, that's just one example of a system that we've changed. Take a look at your laundry system. If you guys don't have that much, I know for a fact, my laundry system right now needs worked on. Okay. We have gone through, I've minimalized my clothing. Brad's gotten rid of bags of clothes. The girls have gotten rid of bags of clothes, and we're still struggling with our laundry. Okay. And I know that it is my mindset and our system. So that full transparency is an area that I can work on. Okay. But I need to be intentional about that. And you need to be intentional about taking the action steps forward to fixing the problem within your home if it's not serving you. So a rule of thumb that I have, and I've done this for a lot of years, and it really works. If we can't go through in our house and spend in the evenings after the kids are in bed, or even during the day, if we need to do a quick pickup, if I can't get the house tidied up in 15 to 20 minutes, the whole house, if I can't get it tidied up in 15 to 20 minutes, then we have a problem. Then we have an issue. If it's taking me more than 20 minutes to tidy up, I know that the tidying or the lack of tidying is going to start compounding on itself. Okay. If it's consistently taking me more than 20 minutes, something is going to happen in the day. A life event is going to happen. We're going to be gone in the evenings. And that's when my environment gets out of control, because it starts to compound on itself. There's only so much time in the day. You only have so much energy to exert and put out. And so you're going to get maybe the playroom picked up, but you're not going to tidy up the dining room. You're going to work on the living room, but you're going to say, I'm going to do the dishes tomorrow. Because if it takes you longer than 20 minutes of tidying, then something is going to not get done. And then that's when you start to have compounded problems. Okay. I've seen this. It's happened for us. And so now you're asking, okay, but what happens? What if it's taking me 20 minutes to get through tidying my house or more than 20 minutes, to tidy my house. It takes me 45 minutes every single night to just clean up all the shit that we've all got out every single day. Then you go back to step one. Okay. You go back to the first S, and you need to look at your physical space. Ask yourself, is this serving you? Okay. And then if it is, you say yes. Okay. You move on. Then you go to number 2, and you need to look at the amount of stuff you had. For example, the playroom. If it's taking you more than 20 minutes to tidy your house, and most of that time is spent on the kids' toys, then you have too many. It's too much stuff. And the other thing with that, you go on to step 3. The third S is systems. Are you having the kids pick up after themselves? Okay. Are you having them take proactive approaches to helping tidy the home? Is one of your systems a 10-minute cleanup during the middle of the day, so that you don't have 30 minutes worth of cleanup to do or 45 minutes worth of cleanup to do later? So these are the 3 S's that you can go through to see where can we improve within our household? Where can we improve within our environment based on what serves us? If you have minimal toys and you're completely fine letting them just pull them all out during the day, explore them and not worry about it, and then you put them away at the end of the day, it's okay to ask them for help in the evenings to put that stuff away, okay? It's okay to delegate some of those things. Is delegating and the need to delegate part of your system that needs improved? Is getting the kids to help you clear the table and working as a team part of your system that you need to improve on? I know if I can't go through and walk through my house and get everything put back in its place where it needs to be in 15 to 20 minutes, things are going to start to feel like they're spiraling out of control. It's all going to start to compound on itself because I have other things that I want to do in the evenings. And if you're doing the challenge, you have things that you have to get done. Okay. You're going to have reading that you might have to do. You might have to get a workout in, and you cannot physically stay up every single night till midnight, cleaning and tidying, and nor are you going to want to. That's going to cause burnout. Okay. So again, go back to your 3 S's. Is your physical space, the space serving you? Is the stuff within that space serving you? Or is it, how does it make you feel? Sorry, go back to that. How does it make you feel? And then number 3, your systems. Okay. The third is your system. And I actually think that the third is one of the most important, if not the most important, because a lot of the times I know a lot of you moms out there have already really kind of figured out we can't have too much stuff. Okay. As a society, I genuinely believe that we are getting better about that. So a lot of the times it's your system. And I was very honest with you right now in saying that like laundry, for example, it's a system issue. It's a system issue. And it's also a mindset issue. I mentioned that already as well, but it's definitely a system issue. And in fact, Brad and I were literally just talking about this 2 days ago, in how do we improve this system? Is there something that we can do? Do we need to put the girls in charge of their own laundry baskets? There's so much stuff out there, so much stuff out there. So much research you could do, so many other opinions and so many other systems for people that have already worked. So you can Google that. You can go on Pinterest and find some of those. I'm not going to go through the list of those because again, I'm not an expert, but I want to conclude this element with a gentle reminder and actually some insight from my husband, because a lot of the times as women, we start diving into these projects and we say, well, this pantry shelf isn't serving me, so I need you to build me this, 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 and this. And look, here's my Pinterest board that I've done. And I want you to build me exactly this that's right here with these 3 shelves, and they all pull out. Well, let's take a pause on needing to do like major remodeling, building, or buying a bunch of things, because again, we want to be financially smart and we want to solve the problem with the environment that we have, with what we are already given. Okay. In a perfect world, yeah, like I would just rebuild my whole kitchen and add a pantry in and maybe like do a bunch of pull out shelves and things like that. But those are projects that we haven't quite got to yet. So and I know that that's not going to get done right away. So how do we fix the problem immediately with what I have right now? And it's getting rid of things and creating better systems. And also, number 1, making sure that this physical space is serving me. So it's not going to happen right away if it's a big, big project. How do you utilize what you already have? How do you utilize what you already have around the house without going and spending a bunch of money or building something or buying something? Work with what you already have within the constraints of your home and your household. And your time, because your time is valuable too, and your husband's time. So if you can improve on it by making some shifts and some changes and pivoting a little bit with what you already have, then awesome. Then that's amazing. Okay. You're living a minimalist lifestyle just as it is by doing that without going out and spending a bunch of money on other containers or other shelving or whatever. So use what you have, use the environment that you have, and get rid of stuff. Okay. Get rid of stuff. Lower your expectations for what it should look like exactly. It's not going to look like, that Pinterest board that you found that was probably photoshopped and Instagram filtered. Okay. It's not going to look like that. I don't have the perfect, drawers, cabinets, containers, and everything in my pantry that's all, like perfectly labeled. And if you do, amen to you. I think that's great, but we don't have that. And it's fine because it serves me. Okay. We can keep it organized. We can keep it cluttered, decluttered. Everything has a spot and everybody knows where that spot is. And it works for us. Now, if labeling everything works for you, sweet. You go do that. I want to empower you to be self-aware and figure out what works for you and your family and your household. So if you are going to dive into these big projects, if you realize something in my home environment is not serving me, you work your way through the 3 S's, and you've actually determined we need to do a big project. That's what we've determined. Please remember, and what I said in the initial episode on the 4 elements to living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom, episode 93, is that if you dive into one of these elements, so if you dive into home, really dive into it and do a project, your other elements are going to shift. Okay. You cannot fulfill each of the other elements, each of the other 3 elements to their full capacity if you are focusing on a project around the element of home. For example, okay, we'll take my pantry. I've decided that I want pull-out shelves in my pantry. We're going to just use this as an example. It's not a project that we've decided we're committing to, but it is something I would love in the future. So my pantry, I would love pull-out shelves. What element is going to be affected by that? The first one is wealth. Okay. It's going to affect our budget. And it's going to cut into our budget, which means we're going to have to reset and build up our home improvement budget after we've pulled out the expenses to build the shelving. Okay. And it could affect the element of love, because when Brad comes home, if that's a project that we've decided that he needs to do, then that's going to be something that he's going to have to do after work in the evenings or on the weekends, which means there's going to be pockets of time that he would typically spend with the girls, with us as a family, working on this project. Okay. It's just going to pull, and it might be a lot. It might be a little bit. I don't know. Please remember, if you do dive into a project like that, it's going to take twice as long. Almost did a 1-2 with my finger, little bunny ears. It's going to take twice as long, and it's going to cost twice as much every freaking time. Okay. Any of those projects, twice as long and twice as much. So you can lower your expectations right off the bat, just lower them, and know that the reason why you're doing this is because it is going to serve your family better. This is also a great talking point for your husband. Listen, I've done some work. Okay. If you have a frugal husband, like my husband, I've done some work. I've determined that the pantry space is a huge stressor for me, and it is not serving me. It's affecting how I do my job here at home. And I really need some help to fix this, to work on this problem. I've decluttered it. I've taken everything out. I've done everything that I can by using these bins or these, but I still can't get to the Tupperware containers in the back, which means when you put them away, or when the girls put them away, or when I put them away, it's turning into a big mess. And then here we go with this downward spiral, so I really feel like I could improve on this physical space. Okay. I've set up systems. The systems are the bins, and it's still a problem. So that means we have to improve the physical space itself by pulling out the drawers. And most of the time they're gonna say, oh, this isn't supporting you in your job, and this would support you better. Okay, that's great. Let's do that. But it's going to cut into our budget. Okay, that's great. We'll make it work. We'll save here, and we'll have to maybe cut into our grocery budget here. However, but that's a great talking point to say, I've really done some work. I've really kind of focused some energy on this, and this is why this isn't helping me. This is why this isn't serving me. Instead of just going and be like, oh, look at so-and-so's pantry. I want mine to look like this, from your Pinterest board or whatever. It's like, no, I've actually really taken the time and the energy to figure out this is really what's going on. And I feel like this is going to help everybody in the whole household if we work on this. Awesome. Okay, great. Let's go from there. And what that does, these 4 elements, what that does is it gives you some grace. Okay. Because when you have a big project or you start working on something, there are only so many hours in the day, sweet mama, and you truly cannot do it all if you are diving into a larger portion of these elements. In the first episode, or in episode 93, the first episode on this topic, I talked about there's kind of 2 ways that you can approach these elements. And there's one with like a simple day-to-day approach. You don't really need to fix anything. You don't really need to change anything. Home, health, wealth, and love are going okay. You do something in each of these 4 elements and things are flowing smoothly. But a life event will happen, a change will happen, a new baby will come, something will happen to encourage you, to force you even to focus more energy on one of those elements. And that is going to put the other elements off. But if you understand that why you're off, why your budget is off, why your love element is off, why your health element is off, is because of another element that you're focusing on over here for the season in the short term, then you say, it's okay. I got this. It's totally fine that my home environment, is a little bit of a mess right now. And it's a little unorganized and a little bit chaotic because we just had a new baby. Okay. And that I'm focusing on health and I'm focusing on love. Those are the 2 elements that we're focusing on right now. So if you dive into a home project, please understand that fully understanding these other 3 elements and these 4 elements combined is where the grace comes in to give yourself the space and the understanding that, you know what? My dishes are not going to get done this afternoon if you tend to do them in the afternoon, because we have been completely engrossed, maybe that's a better word, in decluttering the playroom. We have got to get these toys out of here, which means my kitchen's going to be a disaster. You cannot do it all the time if you are diving into a specific project. So if you are in the home section, in the home element, diving into a specific project within that element, please understand that something in your other elements is going to give. Something has to give, and it's going to be slacking. And give yourself some grace in that mindset of knowing the reason why this isn't happening, or the reason why this isn't an element that I'm pouring into today 100%, is because I'm doing X% over here, which is taking some percentage from this element. So this might be getting a little confusing now, but I just hope that you understand that this is where grace comes in. Okay. This is where grace comes in. Grace doesn't come in from sitting on the couch and not doing anything. Grace, understanding that comes from you being intentional in these elements. If you are being intentional and diving into the element of home, yes, something in the other 3 elements is going to give. And remember that you have the power now. Okay. These 4 elements, and you have the power to adjust that and to tweak that and to pour into the other element the next day or the next season. All right. This may be something that happens for a 24-hour period. This may be something that happens for a week. This may be something that happens for 6 months if you have a new baby. Okay. Just know that it's a season, and there are ways that you can control it. There are ways that you can be intentional about it. And that is how you live a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. You gain back that control and you gain back that power of your environment and of your role as a stay-at-home mom. So let me know if you have any questions on this. I do want to leave you with 3 resources to dive into as experts. They're experts because, again, I talked about this before. I'm not an expert, so I'm going to turn my page and make sure I have all these down. So I have these 3 women, and there's hundreds of other people out there, but these are 3 resources that I use in my life that helped me. If you want to dive into this a little bit further and find other resources, please send them to me, by the way. If you have additional resources on this topic of home that you think would be valuable, please send those to me. And I would absolutely love to share those in the community. And I can share those in the Facebook group also, where we're taking these conversations one step further. I would absolutely love that and appreciate it. So the 3 resources that I have, and I will provide their information, their website information in the show notes below. But the first one I've talked about before, actually, I think I've talked about all 3 of these. But the first one is Ali Casazza. She also has a podcast. She just recently wrote a book. She has courses on decluttering. Her idea is minimal-ish. So she really focuses on teaching women to create environments that serve them to the best of their abilities, including some of their systems. So she has courses out there. She has a book out there, Declutter Like a Mother. She has a great website. Her Instagram is full of resources as well. So Ali Casazza is the first one. The second one I've actually had as a guest on the podcast, which I would love to have Ali on the podcast as well. And I'm working on that. So if you already follow her, you should send her a shout out and say, hey, you should be on the Mama Mindset podcast because Amy talks about you a lot. But Kendra Hennessy is the second one. I have had her on as a guest way back in the beginning of the podcast. She was one of my first, if not the first, I believe, interview. And hers is on cleaning and systems and mindset around cleaning and systems. So you can always go back and listen to that episode with her as well. We did still talk about laundry and mindset. Like one of those things that I'm struggling with is laundry. I talked to her about that. So you can go back and listen to that. But she also has courses that she puts together. She has a great website and her Instagram page as well. So Kendra Hennessy is another fabulous woman and another great resource. And the third is the Minimal Mom. And I don't know as much about her because I haven't followed her as closely. However, she has a fantastic YouTube channel and really, really practical methods that you can use to minimize your home in order for it to work for you as well. So I highly encourage you to go look at those. I know some people really prefer to listen to things or watch things or read things. So there's 3 great things. You could read Ali's book. Okay. Kendra Hennessy also has a podcast. So you could listen to Kendra Hennessy's podcast that really, really helps with cleaning and mindset around cleaning. And then the Minimal Mom, you could watch her YouTube channel because she's a plethora of information out there on creating an environment that works for you. So I'll put all of that information in the show notes below. Let me know if you have any tips, resources, mostly resources. Let me know if you have any resources behind this conversation, behind this element of home. And I would love to share those with the group. I would love to share those with all of this community, all of the women. So let me know if you have any questions about this. I'd love to clarify anything that you're confused on. Don't forget to head on over to the Facebook group where we are taking these conversations one step further. If you do have a question, it'd be awesome to ask it in that group, and then everybody learns from your questions. So I love doing that. I love building this community over there in that group. So head on over to the group. It's also in my bio on my Instagram page as well. So as always, thank you so much for listening today, sweet mama. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Don't forget that the next element on not the next episode, but the episode after that, we're going to dive into the second element of health. So mark your calendars. Don't forget to subscribe to the Spotify or iTunes or whatever channel you use to listen to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episodes. And I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.